too?
8 weekends in a row and downpour today.
Yep.
I run a golf course, so
All
it's
right.
great.
You're good. Whenever you're ready.
All right, so we'll call to
Plus, we're in
order.
a drought.
We'll call to order this meeting of our workshop on the 7th of May. Jesus, 6:04. Kim, you already had answered some questions, correct?
Yes.
Has
Desiree
everyone-
sent me some questions
Has
that
everyone
you guys
seen
had
his- I
prepared.
know you wrote them. Have you seen his response?
No, I haven't seen this response.
So on the first question, Kim, I'm just going to go over these with a group.
Sure.
How do we submit questions to the lawyer? And the same way as chair, secretary, and your board, this is also how we contact MMA. Is that all of your statement? So Kim, do you prefer, when we contact the MMA, either Desiree or myself with the permission of the board or direction of the board, one person contacts you? That way you're not having multiple contacts. Is that one how you
It's-
proceed?
It's always best for questions to be directed to a single person, just so I'm not, providing.
So most
different
likely that will
opinions or
be,
getting different facts.
most likely that will be Desiree unless she is camping or out of town. And then, Madam Select Woman, do we need approval from the select board before we contact Cam due to costs? Now, is that hit whose budget does this hit?
Yours,
Okay,
okay?
that's not fair. Okay, so that answered that question. If we find confusion in language in the ordinances, Cam is happy to provide guidance or clarification in ordinance language and how to administer it. He is available to us for board meetings at which his attendance is desired or guidance might be necessary, subject to board of selectmen approval. So his in-person approval is needed from you guys. Am I reading that correctly?
Where did that come from?
That was a response.
Oh, from Cam. Okay.
We're just clarifying
Yep.
on our end.
Hi, Cam, I'm one of the select.
Jen
board
is,
members.
Jen is also here. She's a select woman. Cam has explained that he will try to answer questions within 24 hours if possible. However, if it's a simple question, it might be just a couple hours, but if it needs more detailed research or a memoranda, it may take longer than 24 hours. So if we have a specific timeline, we should include that with our question so that they can at least get a preliminary response later. If we need him for a meeting, the sooner we notify, the better. That way, preferably with a week's notice. That way he can be present or one of their other municipal attorneys with their firm can be covering. And his attendance can be done remotely, like it is now. Desiree, is there a way for us to put them up on that screen?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I would figure probably somehow. I just didn't want to put it.
And is the board of selectmen, do you think they're okay with the Zoom attendance? That was part of the answer.
Yes.
Okay, so that covered those questions. So Cam, right now we have myself, Roger Moreau, who is our vice chair, Harvey Maycumber, who's a former selectman and planning board member, Jim Barron, who is a planning board member, and John Pepin, who is an alternate. We're missing one member, Paul Ferris, who's an alternate, who's not here tonight. Did we have additional questions? I have a couple that have come up since we sent this.
Just the one we discussed.
So one question came up is if someone submits an application and there seems to be confusion or if the ownership of the property is misrepresented on the application, does it nullify the application?
Oh, how do you mean it's misrepresented? Like they're claiming they own it, but they don't have any proof?
Or they claim they own it, but they say they own it, but we know they don't.
I mean, if you think so generally when you submit an application, you're supposed to submit some type of proof of ownership to go along with it.
Yep.
If there's no proof of ownership, I think it's appropriate to say that the application's incomplete and they should provide that so that the board can move forward. If they're unable to provide evidence of that, then that's the point at which the board could go ahead and deny the application. I think where there's, a question about, whether you believe a deed is valid or something like that, you get into the trickier area of right title and interest, and it's ultimately not for you to say whether a deed's valid or not. If someone presents you with something that appears to let them do what they're trying to do, then the planning board just has to kind of take it at face value. You don't do any real independent research on that one.
But right of interest or management of a property can be substituted in place of ownership.
Sorry, what was that?
So right of interest or management of a property is also covered. That makes it a valid application.
Yeah, I mean, if someone's like the property manager or lessee of the property, they should be submitting the lease that they have or the contract that they have, but ideally they'd also be submitting some type of agent authorization
Okay.
saying that like the actual owner of the property is giving them permission to do this, because you don't really want to be in a situation where you're approving something that's, you know, outside the bounds of the lease, or, you know, like a addition to a building that they don't actually have the right to modify under their existing lease or management agreement or something like that. So that's why you wouldn't necessarily ask for the deed, but you'd be asking for some type of authorization from the owner.
Okay. That answer your question there?
Yep.
John, do you have any questions? Jim, do you have additional questions?
Nope.
Harvey?
All set?
The one question I was asking Desiree earlier, I'm assuming, so your representation is for the town and you're advising the planning board as well, but you don't advise the ZBA, correct?
I can advise the ZBA.
So that's not a conflict if it's a matter that we've already judged on?
So if I advise the board on a planning board application, generally I'll have to choose, or the town will have to choose, who they would want me to represent if there were to be an appeal to the Board of Appeals from the application. And in that situation, it would really be up to the town whether I would be advising the Board of Appeals on how to proceed, or if I'd be taking the position of defending the planning board's actions. And I mean, if that comes up, we have a stable of people that we use generally as conflict counsel who would cover, we could recommend the town bring in to advise the Board of Appeals.
Now, I think that answers my second question. My second question was going to be, if there is a conflict, is someone else in your firm could represent the other board?
So it wouldn't be someone else at the firm, because I
you have a
am
firm?
Freddie Flaherty for all intents and purposes. So it would be a different attorney from another firm that we might bring in. So it would be, you know, like someone like Jim Katsafikis or like Mike Carey out of Brian Isaacson, or those kinds of people.
Okay. Cool. Have you reviewed our change of use application, which I believe is the last application we created, Craig?
Yep.
Has anyone,
Introduce or conditional use?
change of use? So we have a conditional use and a change of use.
I have not reviewed in detail the change of use application, but I can give you general advice on how that usually works.
So I was unclear after our application process, we didn't have a change of use application. And reading through our ordinance, it appears that change of use application can be approved by the CEO. Does it still need to come to the planning board if he approves it?
So this is a change of a conforming use.
Correct.
I mean, I would need to look at the actual application, but it would seem to say if the ordinance says that the code enforcement officer can approve a change of use, provided that it's not like some type of use that requires planning board review, then I think that would probably be appropriate. And then there wouldn't be a need to bring it before the planning board. But obviously, if you're dealing with, like, you know, a residential conversion to some commercial use that requires site plan review or planning board review to actually authorize the commercial use, then that would take that outside the CEO's hands.
Okay. That was my question on that application. Anyone else with questions?
Would he, since we have the public hearing coming up next Wednesday, would he be available for a phone call if need be? For any questions that come up?
So we have as you know, we have the new cannabis laws in town, or ordinances. And our applicants are back in front of us with a new application format this month.
Yeah. 2 weeks.
next
We
week?
don't even believe we're gonna be able to get through all of the applications and render decisions in that night. So we've already scheduled a special meeting for the following week, because our ordinances don't allow us, our bylaws don't allow us to take on new business after 9 PM. So Harvey is asking if we need you, are you available for a phone call, or you would need advance notice, correct?
I could be available for a phone call. You mean to attend the meeting itself?
I think he means, do you mean by Zoom?
Well, I didn't want to spend the town's money, but what I was thinking of,
He's
if
clarifying.
he does, if we do have a question, I mean,
I would assume, he's concerned that about cost. So if, I'm assuming the cost is the same whether we're talking to you on the phone or the computer.
Yeah, the minute by minute, hour by hour cost is the same whether I'm on the phone. The difference is the drive time,
Right.
really.
yeah.
So phone or Zoom is the same price, Harvey. All right, so we can talk later and decide if we think that your presence would be needed, just so you would have that on your calendar. Additional questions?
If you let me know the date, I can certainly try to hold it for you guys until I hear whether I'm
The 21st.
needed or not.
So we have 2 meetings scheduled for these items. Maybe we would be delighted to get through them all on the first night, but so the 21st, and we've already advertised the 28th as a continuance. On these original applications, because we didn't have apparently the proper applications in place, we were using a site plan review, even though they're similar. They actually, I think the site plan review asked for more information. The applicants had to come back before us
Second time.
a second time with the proper application. This is their second time around. There was a little bit of dispute on whether or not one of the applicants was deemed incomplete. This new time, they were complete. We'd already done site inspections, which is the normal, our site walks, which is normal with our site plan for 2 of the applicants. So I think it was a little contested when we asked the third to go in for a site review on site. And they did yield and say that they would be happy to do it. From the way I understand ordinances, the planning board can choose to have or not to have site walks on any application before them. Is that how you would view it?
I mean, generally, there's no requirement for like explicit ordinance approval for something like a sidewalk, as long as the applicant's not objecting and the board considers it relevant to its ability to act on the application, then I think it's reasonable to request one.
Okay.
And then it just has to be properly, noticed and scheduled and everything.
Okay. We just want to avoid any further delay to anyone or any future appeal.
Yeah,
So the other thing for Harvey's question
that makes sense.
is if for some reason you do have questions on the 21st and the 28th, either or, there's no timeline on approving these applications. So if you need to take the time to wait till the June meeting to talk to Cam, go in depth over the meetings, that's perfectly acceptable.
Okay, so Desiree was telling us that rather than tie you up, that if we're not required under a certain timeline to approve these applications that are coming up on the next meeting, so we could always email you our questions after the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, the tricky part is
People aren't.
that really you should be asking the questions so that the
Applicant can
Independent.
answer.
applicant knows. So if you're planning to confer with me about an issue with an application,
Yep.
you should just make sure that you're stating that you're going to seek advice of counsel on, these specific issues.
Okay,
And then those answers would have to probably be shared with the applicant just so they understand and can
Freedom of
respond if they feel like they need to.
so my opinion is because of the history with these applicants that we do have Cam present if at all possible, whether it be on phone or Zoom. Just so that we can get through this process fairly to them as well as not back ourselves into a corner.
Right.
Does
I
that-
agree. I mean, they come with their lawyers, so.
Yeah, and their lawyers are gonna be with them, so we would prefer if you can schedule that time that you're
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. So I can try to make those dates available. I don't believe I have anything
Unfortunately, our meetings start at 6 PM for you.
It's okay. Can swing that.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
I don't think I have anything on the 21st, so I should be available to attend, whether in person or via Zoom, I think.
Okay.
In person is somewhat beneficial, but I understand the cost concerns, so I'm not going to pressure you on that one.
I think that
For that one time.
this particular matter, Cam, if you're available and you could be present, that would be better. You guys agree?
I do.
I mean, they have a plethora, I mean, it's one of them
At
has
least for the-
multiple
At
attorneys.
least for this one meeting, because we got a whole bunch of stuff to deal with, and it'd be nice to have Cam in our
We're
corner.
getting a nod, a select woman that she also agrees with.
Okay, good to know.
Unfortunately, she attends all our meetings. I have to put her on the hot seat every time.
Yeah, so pack us up.
it would go smoother for sure.
As long as there's consensus.
Yeah, I think that the general consensus, do you agree?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we would very much like to have you here. Even the select board is gonna pick up the bill.
And you know what, we have workshops,
So generous.
Yeah,
kind of run through that.
and Jen's gonna confirm that tomorrow with her fellow select board members at their workshop, but I think that everyone will agree that it's advantageous to all of us to have your experience there.
Definitely.
Cam, are you very familiar with the cannabis laws?
Yes.
Okay.
So we also represent the town of Kittery, and they have been embroiled in litigation over their cannabis licensing process for going on 4 years now. So
Oh, God, that's not what I wanted to hear. We're glad you've been around the rodeo,
I wouldn't
but
say it's anything they've done so much as it is, specific businesses looking to capitalize on a potentially lucrative market.
Yep.
And sniping at each other.
Right.
So,
well, they have a higher traffic volume than we do, but they're also a gateway town, so that I understand that.
yeah. But I would anticipate it. I would hope and anticipate that would not be the case for you guys. But
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, things do tend to
Get dramatic.
come around again and again.
Awesome.
Do you have anything you want to ask Cam?
I don't think so. I think the,
Desiree's our administrative guru, so. But she's unfortunately not going to be present for our meeting. But I may have her on speed dial.
I will be on Facebook. I'll listen to the meeting, and if I can't get on Facebook, then I will call you and you can put me on, you can mute me and.
Speaker you or whatever.
Perfect.
I think the questions you guys have asked so far are great. He's already been very responsive
Yep.
over the last couple of weeks, so I think I'm good.
Cool.
Perfect. And I guess my last question is, once before we had obviously we sometimes consult the MMA if we have a simple question. And if we're consulting the MMA, we shouldn't be consulting you. Is that correct? It's a conflict or vice versa? Because
there's no conflict.
okay, we consulted the last town attorney on a question and we asked the same question to the MMA and they wouldn't advise us because we asked the town attorney.
Weird.
Generally, MMA's stance is that they're not allowed to provide towns with legal advice or legal guidance. They're allowed to tell you, their opinion or direct you to their manuals, but they're not going to comment on specific factual issues.
Yeah.
And usually, they'll try not to counter advice of the town's attorney.
Right.
So if they know that you've consulted with me, they might just defer you to however I advised you,
Okay.
instead of potentially coming up with an alternative.
Or if they think they're wrong, they may just say they can't.
So they might just say they can't. So it's not a true conflict. I think it's more of a courtesy and a desire not to get in between a town and its attorney's advice.
Correct. And we don't really want that conflict either. We just, sometimes we try to look at things from every angle.
I mean, there have been times where I'm disagreeing with MMA's approach, but they happen. But I don't think it presents a true conflict. So if there's a question or something you want to ask MMA, you can always go to them first and then follow up with me to see if I agree or if I have a difference of opinion, and I'll usually be able to justify a difference of opinion.
Perfect.
Awesome.
All right. Any other questions before we keep this, gentleman?
If you want something? Oh. Oh, okay.
Well, Kim, I think that's all from us unless you have questions for us, because we know we're going to see you in a couple weeks. For a very long
No, I
night.
mean, I'll be ready for the 21st. I'll review all the ordinances and everything. If Desiree could share the applications with me prior to that meeting, that would be helpful so that I'd have them on hand and be able to get the full scope of what's being proposed. And then also if there's any minutes or anything from the prior meeting, that would be helpful too.
Oh, there are. Well, she's nodding, so they'll be coming your way.
Careful what you ask for.
No, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. We appreciate it.
Look forward to working with you guys.
Excellent. Welcome aboard. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
All right, Desiree, computer's back to you.
Cool. Very cool. I had a feeling it was gonna be that way. We couldn't discuss anything unless the applicants were here.
We can't discuss specific applications, so it's hard to
Yep.
phrase a question.
Don't even know why we have these damn. Be nice with the workshop and the application.
Yeah, it would be nice if we worked.
Wouldn't it?
application. I think as we get through this month is when we can start working on our ordinances.
Right,
Getting through this month is gonna be fun.
right.
Not fun in a bad way.
Do like we did last time.
Fun in a great way.
Challenging.
Challenging, and we can check things off our list.
Yeah.
And pass them on to other people. All right. So just a reminder, we have sidewalks on May 18th, which is a Sunday at 12:01, 18 Federal Street and 46 Loon Point Road.
Couple days before meeting. Yeah.
Any other matter that anybody wants to discuss tonight? So I will suggest at our next meeting that we start scheduling workshops to work on ordinances,
Okay.
just because we do know that some of them need to be looked at.
Yeah, we'll just
And
break it.
maybe we can, at that workshop, divide them up like we did before.
Yeah.
We have written copies and then we can swap them off again.
Yeah.
Do a round robin with them so we can make sure all our language matches up and have different sets of eyes on the same thing.
The other thing is the comprehensive plan. I mean, everybody should look at that,
Yep.
familiar with it, because in our ordinances, it refers to the comprehensive plan 90, so if we're gonna update,
Right,
we should also throw that in there.
good. Definitely.
It's a great copy.
Purdy. You could cut pictures.
We open the questions.
Yeah.
I know we, spend some money on getting open doors and things for ADA compliance and whatnot. I'm having trouble hearing,
Okay.
and I'm wondering if the town or if that includes any type of hearing apparatus that might be available for these small and other units.
So is there any type of assistance for people hard of hearing?
Well, I know the new website is ADA compliant. What exactly that means in terms of hearing, I'm not sure, and I'm not sure what you are, what do you mean? Like if we were in the gym having a meeting and somebody was hard of hearing, like
Really?
having a microphone that would be louder or?
Yeah, something that might be, right here. I'm trying to figure out if there's something that I can put in front of, wherever I need to be. It's not everybody has a different level. And I'm tuned into higher pitch. In other words, if you drop a pen, I'd probably shake my ears. But if you speak low tones, I can't hear it. And that's putting me at a little bit of a disadvantage.
I seem to recall, and I could be wrong, didn't at one point we have a microphone that people had to stand up and speak to? Was that just for notes?
No, that was, however, we were recording the meeting for YouTube.
Okay.
It really wasn't a projection into the room, it was just for the recording.
Okay.
I believe that we've had a microphone set up in there with a speaker at one time.
Yeah, but I think that's big box speakers. I remember when we were looking at putting in a all this equipment here. They had come in with a unit that was sort of like this, and it had its own microphone setting and whatnot, and you could do all kinds of things with it. I don't know, I can't be the only one that's hard of hearing when they get to these meetings, but
Do the meetings when they play out, not that it's gonna help Harvey during the meeting, but when they play out on this website, are they closed caption?
They're closed
Yeah.
captioned when you're live. I mean, you know, they're not always accurate, but.
yes, they swear a lot. I'm just querying it right now. I'm trying to resolve it on my own, but I just, if I can't hear the question, I might give you the wrong answer.
No, I mean, that's fair.
No?
Would it
And-
be okay for you to ask for somebody to speak up, or?
I find that kind of, I don't know, I hate to have somebody ask me to do that because I can hear it myself perfectly well.
Right.
And it's when people get to the low tone, in other words, they start off saying, well, okay, I'm gonna be this, and then it goes down to this, I miss the bottom part of the whole thing.
Yeah, I think one of the things, that especially for this next meeting, is we need to make sure we explain to people how the meeting is gonna run at the very beginning. Like their time limitations, that they come up and clearly speak their name, their address, that we're, whether or not we're accepting, any comments from non-residents unless it's an agent of one of the applicants. And that way we can also say, please speak better. And maybe it would be better if we switch places because you're facing the crowd.
Well, that's it, because my information comes from behind me.
Yeah.
And if it bounces off the wall, then I'm okay.
Well, you guys are gonna be in the gym for the next meeting.
Like I have trouble hearing Desiree.
Yeah, so.
So we're gonna probably all be in a straight table facing out the next time, the next meeting.
Yeah,
For that, get you by for that one anyway.
I'm anticipating a large crowd. I'm hoping maybe not huge, but I'm anticipating a large crowd for the 21st.
So here's my other question. What if we rearrange this room for the meetings and we put another table on the end of that table so that we're all sitting there facing out towards the chairs, which then you can still see the screen? Because if we were to do it in front of the chalkboard, I think you'd have to move all your equipment and it looks like it's,
Or maybe, yeah, you could sit here and then we could sit.
I have no problem just moving seats at all. I just kind of sit here because
Yeah.
nobody else does.
Hey man, I can hear good.
But if we put a line, I mean, you've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 chairs right there.
Right, if you do 2 rows over there instead, put two more rows in there.
I have no problem coming in before the meeting and rearranging the tables.
Well, it doesn't matter for next meeting, because
We're not gonna be
you
in here.
guys are gonna be in the gym.
But if we ran these 2 banquet tables down this, or even this one and that one, down that wall, then everybody's facing us. But I think, is that movable or should we do it on this wall?
So it is movable, but it's the range of the camera. So you got like a cone, so
Well, the range would be fine.
if I move that stack of chairs and push it over more towards the corner, you get a better view of this way.
So I think, and then it gives more people, we might have not have as many rows back, but they're closer to us, so if they're hard of hearing. Does anybody have an objection to that?
No, whatever helps.
And the other thing in here is you can start requesting that people stand up and talk so that they're projecting better.
Yep. Except us, we can still stay seated, right?
Yeah, you just need to speak up sometimes.
I know. So the next meeting, we're gonna be in the gym, so that'll help a little bit.
Yeah, we'll work.
Should we have a microphone for that meeting?
Yes, you should
Do
have.
we have a microphone?
You know, I know that we have had one, and I'll check tomorrow.
Yeah.
We have a workshop tomorrow, so.
We have the golf course has a small PA system with a microphone. That way I can bring if we need to.
Okay,
But it's just a simple speaker that they'll have to hold the microphone. I don't even have a stand for it.
and it might be worth having somebody bring.
Walk it around to them when they have questions.
Yeah.
So everybody can hear.
It is not. Oh yeah, the
The mic should
mic
be.
is wireless. Yep. They're not expensive, and
I was gonna
then
say that might be something the town would.
you could buy them for under $100 at Sam's Club.
No,
Jen, the comp plan looks great. I'm trying to work this out for a couple of months and I got sidetracked with other minor details. The budget, I mean, we should have in reserve $1,000 for the comp plan for revisions.
We do.
Can you give the front office some money for the ink and stuff for?
Yeah, that's already been decided.
Okay.
Yeah, all right, yeah.
All right, I need to talk to you about the trailer and budget meetings.
Okay.
We'll do that after the meeting.
Speed trailer,
Pardon?
the speed trailer?
Yes.
Oh, good, okay, good. I saw that wall. So, yeah, we gotta move it. We've had requests from a lot of people,
Like 153, you know, the 95-mile-an-hour zone highway.
you know, yeah, North Street, Northwest.
Saw a stadium Route 5 on the way here.
Maybe we can do that tonight before we leave.
Sure.
We covered attorney questions. We know we're gonna work on our ordinances. Anybody questions, you know, we talked about processes and procedures of being on top of those for our next meeting. Applications, we really can't discuss.
But that was applications like the forms.
The forms.
Not the
Yeah.
applications of.
So we're caught up on the forms. We have all the forms I think that we need.
Right.
Did anyone else read the change of use ordinance to see what I was talking about where it says approved by the CEO?
I didn't catch that when I looked at it.
So I think we may have to let Jesse know that well, maybe if everybody has a chance to read through that again, maybe he has the first round of approval like we do when we're passing something on to you, but then it has to come to us anyway.
And
Just so that's clear to applicants too, just because Jesse says it's okay doesn't mean the planning board. can act on it, which I think he's aware of it
Well,
too.
technically, if you read the ordinance, it says he's supposed to do that to every site plan that comes through, but that doesn't happen.
Yeah. But a change of use doesn't necessarily require a full site plan for some things.
Right. But like I said, anything that comes through in the ordinance, when it comes through Jesse, he's supposed to have the completeness that he tended to before it gets to us. I know that's not the way we do it, but I'm just saying that's what the ordinance states.
Right. And does everyone plan on being available on Sunday?
Yep.
No, the week from Sunday?
Yep.
I had a little heart attack this morning. I thought it was this week. I was like, why did I do that?
Yeah, Mother's
I know
Day.
where I'll be. I'll be slopping food. Any other topics anyone wants to bring up tonight? If not, we need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
And a second.
Second?
Jim, all in favor? You're finished.
I have one complaint.
Okay.
No
Just one?
donuts.
No donuts.
I'm gonna make a note of that.